Let's chat agenda and we'll kind of chat purpose, and then I'll kick it over to Laura. So for our agenda, I'll kind of do a brief welcome, then we'll let Laura speak. Want her to speak on her experience at Solace Health and kind of what they're doing. And then Mitch will have a little bit, and I'll kind of fill in as well. Mitch, take as long as you want. I got some data science stuff that I'll show for the spotlight. And then we'll probably wrap up around 5:20 or 6:20 and do some happy hour for those of us here. Next time you guys come into town, we'll get you over there at Clive's. One thing I wanted to just briefly kind of go over is, once again, the purpose of why we're doing these DOMO user groups and why we're trying to kind of grow it. Number one focus is gaining that collective industry and specifically DOMO knowledge. Making sure that we're constantly growing that, learning from each other. And the other one is kind of focusing on solving those real world problems that come up when we're trying to work through data. And oftentimes DOMO, as we found, is a very good solution to solve some of those problems. So with that purpose in mind, I'll kind of stop sharing my screen and let Laura take over.
Hey, thank you. And that's a great segue, because we have really solved some real world problems with the work that we've done here. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yep, we got it.
Okay. Wait, let me go into presentation mode here. So I am Laura Baker. I am VP of technology at Solace Health. So I own IT, I own products, and I own engineering. And I've been here over about 2.5 years. And I was brought in to basically start our tech here. So when I got here, we had our different core systems for things. But everything was pretty manual in terms of any type of reporting, that kind of thing. So just a little bit about Solace Health before I jump into the rest of it. So Solace is a 24/7 concierge urgent care healthcare delivery organization. We're headquartered out of New York. We are national, so we have sites in New York, California, and Florida. We have brick and mortar clinics. We have some clinics that have lower end diagnostic capabilities, and and then we've got what we call our enterprise clinics, which really have that are flagships that have more advanced imaging like MRI, CT scanners, that type of thing. And we are membership based, so folks pay to be a member at Solace Health. And there are lots of other concierge healthcare companies out there. What really sets us apart is we do have 24/7 facilities. All of our physicians come out of ERs, so they're all ER trained, and so they're trained in urgent care. We offer same day appointments and walk-in appointments. We've got kind of a guarantee of how long you're going to wait as part of your membership. We have advanced imaging. We have comprehensive labs on site. We provide care navigation. So even if you come to us and there's something that we cannot help you with, we will get you to the right place and the right physician and follow up with you. We have expedited appointments. We have VIP services with leading hospitals. So basically what that means is if you come to us and we've got to get you into a hospital, we can do that in an expedited manner. We provide house calls, and then we have a very broad specialist network of medical partners. So if you come into us and you've had chest pain, we get you stabilized, and you need to see a cardiologist and you don't have one. In all of our regions, we have networks where we can get you in fairly immediately, probably within 24 to 48 hours, which is kind of unheard of. And then we do triage called aftercare. So after you've seen us, we follow up with you to make sure that you're feeling better. If you need anything else, we make sure that you've got the referrals you need. So it really is patient-centered care, and we really fill the gaps and do all the things that each and every one of us complain about in sort of the traditional healthcare markets. Um, okay. So here's our story. We have the startup story. So as I was mentioning a few minutes ago, when I came on board, and we still are, in startup mode, but we had, silos of systems supporting sort of these lines of business. So, marketing and sales and member services. We had a CRM. We've got siloed call center software. We've got clinical electronic health records. We have multiple finance systems, an HR system. All of our processes were manual in terms of extracting data out of these systems and then producing reports. So a lot of stuff went into manual spreadsheets. We exported, reports out of, let's say, Salesforce, and kind of combined everything together. Every department was doing their own thing from their own data sets from all these different systems. So I'm sure you've seen this story before. So one of my first initiatives when I got here was to really help us get drive towards enterprise reporting from a single source of truth. So I kicked off a digital transformation project, and it really served as a lot of things for us, but also the foundation for Domo. So I came in, I put in an infrastructure so we could integrate our systems, create an operational data store. We created a data warehouse. And then we engaged with this magical team here at Data Up to really start implementing connectors so we could start connecting to all of our different platforms. So as you can see here across all of our lines of business and our enterprise systems, we basically created integrations for some of our own internal applications, and then also store the data in Domo through connectors. So where did that bring us? Well, what does our BI and analytics portfolio look like today? So I'd say this is about a year ago that we kicked off this initiative. We have accomplished a tremendous amount within a year. We've got, for marketing, we can track our investments across marketing channels. We can track our campaigns. We pull all of our analytics, Google Analytics in. For sales, we can track all of our lead conversions, all of our sales tracking, HR turnover rates, time to hire, employee retention rates. There's much more in these, but just to give you some examples, finance, all of our financial metrics. And from a clinical perspective, so treating patients, utilization, in other words, who's coming in for what conditions, and which providers are being utilized and how much. We track across our visits per physician, per region, per location, per services. We've created metrics against certain conditions and regional services breakdown. So you can imagine, if we're looking at, staffing, for example, it helps us tremendously to know, what the clinical conditions we are treating in each region, because each region's different. So LA is very different from New York City, for example. And then Navigator, which is a member event tracking system that we created internally. Um, and that's basically a workflow system. So we can take any member event, whether it be a clinical event, billing event, whatever the case may be, and within Navigator, we create workflows until closure. Well, we have been able to pull all of that data into Domo, and then track our closure rates, track our operational performance against SLAs. And so when you talk about an SLA, let's say a member calls and they're calling about, let's say, chest pain. And if in our system, chest pain has a SLA of actually triaging the member and getting them taken care of, let's say, 5 minutes. We've got that built into Navigator. We suck all of that data into Domo, and it can tell us how well we're working against our SLAs in terms of criticality for our members. So that's really a high level example of our portfolio. Again, we've done all of this in 1 year across all lines of business and given us, enterprise level reporting. Data Up has been our partner in innovation for this. They've worked with our product manager and department SMEs to, analyze our data. They wrote our connectors, performed ETL, and built really complex enterprise dashboards across all lines of business. So if you're not familiar with healthcare data, it's very messy. It's not real consistent, and it can be very complicated, particularly when you're getting into, analyzing clinical data in terms of utilization and other things. So I was so impressed with this team and being able to come in and look at sales data 1 minute, look at clinical data the next minute, and really give us meaningful, BI and dashboard reporting in DOMO. It's just been phenomenal. So, what's been the value to our business? In 1 year, we were able to consolidate all systems data into one single platform that will allow us to use the same normalized data, which is really important, as a single sort of source of truth, right? For reporting across the enterprise. I've been in a lot of organizations who's tried to do BI and analytics, and one of the biggest problems is this department's results don't match this department's results when you're sitting there, in an executive leadership meeting and you're reporting out on KPIs or operational performance. Domo has allowed us to put all of this data into one platform, and everybody does all of their, analytics and reporting off of this. It has made a tremendous impact. As a startup, you can imagine being able to manage in near real time our financial performance and our services delivery to our members. So, and I just can't say enough, we really strive on particularly operational excellence and are making sure that our members have the highest quality of care. The near real-time data that we get in Domo that our providers can use, our regional medical directors can use, our operational medical teams can use is invaluable. And we also track and manage all of our OKRs and KPIs. So as a startup, we're really in growth mode. So we've implemented all of our business level OKRs and our line of business level KPIs. That way, everybody's in the same place using the same data again, and we're able to track it in a real time fashion. And then, the best thing that I love, and it's really hard to be able to tell you about this without showing you, but our dashboards, our Domo dashboards tell an enterprise story across all lines of business. So you can look at sales and marketing, and member services, which is basically our customer relationship managers. And then you can look at our clinical information, and our financial information, and it really tells an end-to-end story. It helps point out areas where maybe we need to focus. So that's one of the biggest, again, things that has been always been a concern to me in trying to build out an enterprise BI and analytics program. Is that it's got to be able to tell the story from end to end across all lines of business and make sense. And, what we have built out in Domo has done that. And, we couldn't have done it without the Data Up team. So this is just an example. I had to be a little careful about what I could show, but I just cannot tell you how critical this is. This is our data from our Navigator dashboard. And we're pulling in, for example, when we get a customer that calls us, emails us, or texts us, it comes into Navigator and then flows into Domo. And we can see how many tasks. So that's going to be how many touch points we've had with a member, how many of them have been closed, how many are open, what our completion rate is. And we can also take a look by group, how many of these are coming through. So you know, for example, this has all of our regions listed down here. The types of activities are coming in for our members, the closure rate, how long it takes to close. For us, we have potentially 15 different touch points for a member for a particular event. And when I mean touch points, I mean throughout our internal organization, a member could potentially be touched at least 15 times by potentially up to 15 different people. Member services, customer support, care navigation, provider triage, the actual provider, and so on. I think you get the idea. So our workflows are very complex, and our ability to track and manage these closure rates are critical for us. And we couldn't have done it without Domo and the great work that the data up team has done. And that is it for me.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Laura, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's
super cool.
such a good use case. It's amazing how much you've done in Domo, and how, through the efforts. Obviously, I know it's been a kind of collaborative effort, but you've been front running it, and it's just amazing.
Well, these guys have been invaluable, and look, the data that they're working with and the type of dashboards that we are developing are in some cases just worlds apart. Right. And I just the ability to pull this data into Domo, it's so easy. To transform it is so easy. Building the dashboards out are so easy. We were able to customize them quickly for, I think the hardest part was it's hard to get end users to really to suss out what they need, right? What they want, the visualizations that they can respond to, right? The visualizations they can understand. And it was just so easy to be able to meet with someone, flip it around, come back the next day and say, is this what you were envisioning? Or tell them, I think this is what you need,
Right,
in
right,
some cases.
right.
Yeah,
But it's just so incredibly easy for us. And from an operations perspective, I wish I could share with you, just it has made all the difference in the world for us.
Amazing. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing it.
yes,
Of
That's great.
course.
thanks, Laura.
Wow. Well,
My
I hope
pleasure.
that this is being recorded. Geez, I'm glad this is being recorded. We just need Laura to come work for us over at Domo.
There you go.
She could sell anybody. She could sell ice to an Eskimo, I think, with that story. So really cool to see that use case. And honestly, from the Domo side, it's fun when you get to see an example like this in play, because, to a lot of people, a solution like Domo is really just, they're thinking of business intelligence as charts and graphs, but it does so much more. It's an operating system, right? I mean, for a business, when you can connect all of your systems and processes and all of your people and all of your data and connect that with your customers and your clients and your partners and connect that whole system together, that's an operating system. And so it goes above and beyond just a business intelligence tool or a visualization tool. So I really like how you are saying, like, we've achieved a new level of operational excellence by implementing a solution like Domo. It's really cool. So I'll be pretty brief today, but I think what I wanted to what Tony and Tyler have asked me to share is kind of relevant here after going through that use case, just because one of the biggest, Laura took initiative and said, hey, we need a digital transformation of our business, and we're all siloed and we're operating independently of each other at the department level, at the individual level, and we're not multiplying our impact on the business and leveling up, right? But the biggest trepidation that I think IT, CTO, executives experience is this level of, okay, well, is this fine balance of how do we enable all of our people and our organization with the right data? At the same time, how do we not expose ourselves, right? Because we have to secure this data, we have to govern it, but at the same time, we need it because we have to become, we have to stay innovative. We have to stay on top of cutting edge technologies and leverage those accordingly. And so I wanted to share how DOMO is helping organizations across all industries and verticals with this. So I'm going to share my screen. Include computer sound. I forgot this last time. Okay, let's test it. Let's test this out.
Yeah.
You guys got this? Okay,
Yep.
we'll go through this.
We see it.
You hear it?
Yep.
Yep.
Welcome to the DOMO Business Cloud. Get ready to learn how DOMO can transform your business. In this session, we'll show you how you can ensure your data is secure with DOMO. DOMO's entire platform includes world-class security and data governance, so you can leverage data assets with greater security, control, and precision as your business grows. With Bring Your Own Key data encryption, you have complete control of the encryption keys for your DOMO instance, and you can rotate through encryption keys numerous times each day. DOMO is compliant with GDPR, HIPAA, SOC 1 and 2, and ISO standards. With personalized data permissions, you control access to data at the user and row level, so everyone sees the data they need to see, and no more. Easily manage large numbers of users by creating, updating, and validating accounts via API. And use your own identity provider for single sign-on along with multi-factor authentication. See all systems connected to DOMO in a single view, so you can visualize system dependencies and quickly troubleshoot. With DOMO, you can control your data while still enabling teams with insights they need to grow your business.
Okay, so you know, and as Laura literally just went through and showed, we connected each of our departments together, right? We had finance and marketing and clinical, and I can't even remember, there were so many, right? And it's being able to connect all of those people, and give them the data that they need to operate within their sphere of influence, but ensuring that others that don't need access to certain data, that is definitely a priority for most you know, platforms. And I think it's something that DOMO does a very, very good job with. In fact, when I first started at DOMO, our sales enablement trainer said, you should be leading every single conversation with data security and governance, because that is where DOMO really excels. And so as you kind of seen here, we built this out to meet security compliance and privacy requirements in basically every industry and vertical, even those that are highly regulated, like financial services, healthcare, life sciences, government, energy, technology, etc. And so, you know, we kind of talked on that, or that video showed at a very high level, you know, how we can do this, but this just shows you just a couple of the features and functionality available to you for from just a data governance standpoint, right? Personalized data permissions, meaning down to the very row that you give access to individuals or groups. Trusted attributes is really just, instead of saying this is a policy that's based on a user type, right? We can, or sorry, it's based on a user type rather than a specific individual. We can go through all of these individually, but the fact of the matter is there is a architecture built out to ensure that you are compliant and that nobody within the you know, no one wants to be on the front page of the news because they let out, you know, a data leak that was, you know, especially in healthcare, right? You know, HIPAA compliant is extremely important. So I don't want to, you know, go through all of these necessarily. I think I told them I'd take 5 minutes. So I'll be brief here, but just kind of wanted to go through that DOMO can help support on this front in any space or industry. Any questions on this?
I think this is, you're exactly right. This is a huge component of DOMO's architecture and infrastructure. And a lot of times it gets glossed over. You know, we're talking about, oh, how do we get the data and how do we transform it? How do we visualize it so that it's meaningful? And that data governance piece is so incredibly important.
Right. It seems like the gatekeepers, if you will, in most organizations, that's the biggest thing is, okay, we recognize this. We need to be innovative. We need to enable our people with data and insights. I shouldn't say data because every business has loads of data, but they're data rich, they're insight poor. And we need insights that are actionable. And we need to enable that at the average business user across our organization. But it's like I said, it's this balancing act of how do we do that without, sacrificing security and data security and governance, right? And I think we've struck that. We're helping technology leaders and organizations to strike that happy balance of saying we can do it. We don't have to have siloed departments anymore. But we also aren't sacrificing our security, right? Our data security, and this doesn't have to get into the hands of the wrong people within our organization or externally.
Right. I think you're exactly right. I mean, that's amazing. Well, cool. Well, thank you.
Thanks,
Mitch, and thanks again, Laura. So what I'll do, I wanted to show just a couple of things and then we can wrap up. It kind of goes along with what Mitch showed in that video, but not around the governance necessarily, but around the data science, which is kind of the BI and analytics, which is pillar 2 in DOMO's kind of infrastructure. I don't know if you guys know, but when I was at DOMO, I spent a year on the data science team. And so a lot of what we developed was around kind of using data science in DOMO, using the tools that are available. So I want to just kind of walk through a brief overview of the tools and maybe talk about a couple of use cases where data science was actually very impactful to the organization. So as we're thinking through DOMO's complete data science suite, just wanted to make everyone aware of all of the options that are available. So Mr. Roboto Insights, there's dataset stats that it goes more towards the governance thing that Mitch was talking about. Data science tiles in the ETL process that we can incorporate, including scripting tiles that are available. And I'll highlight one additional data science tile that isn't listed out here that allows for kind of productionizing of a model in DOMO. And then, of course, you have kind of the smart alerts and suggested alerts that can be set on cards and data sets, as well as the development capabilities that are done with predictive apps to build out that infrastructure. So looking kind of at if we're in the ETL process, these two here, the scripting and the data science, are really where we lived as a data science team. Often what we would do, and for people who understand enough about data science but maybe don't know how to script in Python or R, some of these models will do a very nice job of adding in a forecasting model to your data set, predicting what you want to do based off of like price over time. And very, very easily you get a prediction price. This is real estate data, by the way. So we're getting kind of a price prediction over time, gives us an upper and lower bound. And it's a pretty easy process. You throw it to an output data set and there you go. You have your model. Where people, know scripting languages, we would predominantly script in R with some Python. But it creates an entire container where you can put your model in play and develop. Now, this isn't a developing environment as much as it is once you've developed your model, you throw it in here to create it in a production data pipeline. So that you allow all of that data to be updated, run through your model, and give you the results that you need. So one aspect of that we really like is this AutoML inference. So often, as is the case with DOMO, if you don't want to develop using these tools, or you don't want to develop using, like a Jupyter Workspaces that'll show you in a minute, you can use other tools. This is an integration that DOMO has where it integrates with Amazon SageMaker, the AWS SageMaker tool. That's kind of an AutoML type tool, and allows for you to create that model through SageMaker. And then as you connect your data to that model, you're able to bring in that AutoML model that you've created through this. Now, this does need to be configured, but it's brought in through that Amazon SageMaker. So this is just an ETL process. DOMO also has that ability to create Jupyter Workspaces, which are development environments. So this is one that spun up very quickly in about 5 minutes. That then you can bring in your data sets, you can code, create your notebooks. We would often do our development here in the Jupyter Workspaces as well. And then once we had our model fine-tuned, we would throw it into the data science pipeline. Now, this is just kind of one of the things that we like to do with this, is just make sure that everybody's aware of all of the ins and outs of DOMO. Laura, I don't know if you guys ever thought about data science, or if there's a use case that you would consider for data science, but definitely let us know if there is. But DOMO is very versatile in that regard, and there's a lot of opportunities to expand. So
Yeah, I think we are, it takes a certain amount of data collection to start to get to data science, right? And
yes,
so
absolutely.
we're about a year or so in, which is kind of the minimum baseline, at least for us, that you need, at least in healthcare. But I think some predictive analytics and maybe even, we've been talking about some AI models as well,
Yeah.
with the team, that we need to follow up on those conversations. But that's kind of going to be the next steps for us, probably going into 2024.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Mitch, just to kind of fill you in on that piece, Laura has some really exciting kind of vision for where she wants to take her team and Solus Health in the space of kind of AI development inside their instance. There's a couple of really, really interesting use cases that utilize DOMO's kind of AI chatbot type chat GPT integrations that can actually really provide some value for Laura and her team. So we're excited to explore those a little bit further.
That's awesome. You guys will have to keep me apprised, because
Yeah.
I mean, it's a new world. AI is the new hotness, and so we're always looking for use cases. And even we're pretty early in development of that. I mean, the Chat GPT feature was recently released, right? And so I'm sure there will be add-ons and additional things that we need to make adjustments on, and getting feedback from clients will be critical in that. So keep me apprised of kind of how that goes when you get there, and there'll be good feedback for our teams to take back, and if nothing else, have use cases to share, but also feedback for if we need to make improvements.
Yeah, I love it, and we absolutely will. I think one of the areas, Laura, if you don't mind me sharing just a brief snippet of one of the use cases that we talked about, is that okay?
Sure.
With
Yeah.
Mitch? So Mitch, this one is very interesting to me. So one of the use cases that Laura said that would be very helpful if AI could help, it's the automating of the posting of discharge notes. So as patients are discharged and there needs to be notes on their file, there can be this integration where AI helps to generate those notes and post them to the file. That reduces a number of hours from, the medical staff to have to go in and write up all of those manually. So that's an element where we're really excited, not just because it is integrating AI, but more it's freeing up those healthcare workers and the medical staff to do more of what they're there to do, which is help people. So it's a powerful use case. She has a couple others that are really cool, but that one I just thought was really, really fascinating.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, cool. Well, we are a couple minutes early from our closeout date. Are there any questions that anybody has for anybody across the board? Any questions or thoughts that have come up?
I have a question for Laura. I'm just curious. You implemented DOMO. What you're going on a year ago, correct? What I mean, you knew when you came into the organization or when you started that project to say, okay, we need to be more innovative. We need to enable people with data. Like, was DOMO on your radar at that time? How did you kind of get in conversations with DOMO? Did you approach us? Did we approach you?
Yeah, I think that it actually the ball had kind of started rolling before I came on board, but we hadn't really done anything with it. But I've worked with quite a few BI and analytics tools, and to be honest with you, DOMO was my go-to. So it wasn't a hard decision, knowing, because I also serve kind of as a quasi CISO. So needing to I always check things off first, quite frankly, from a compliance perspective and our ability to control access to data before I go down any other road, because there's no point, if it doesn't meet our needs. So yeah, it was sort of a no-brainer for me.
And just out of curiosity, what are some of the other platforms you had used or were familiar with before DOMO?
Oh boy. Well, I would say probably Talend is the other one that I've used quite a bit. The big difference to me there is you still need a data visualization tool on top of it, and then of course, we're a Microsoft shop. So, Power BI is, another opportunity, but that's sort of a different architecture and model, and it may have a place in some other areas, but from an enterprise perspective, DOMO was it.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Always like to ask those questions just because, we have conversations daily with people that are considering using a Talend or considering using Power BI. And it's good to just kind of get perspective on, okay, this is why we chose DOMO over those others. This is what it did for us and why it was maybe an easier choice for us. And then we can kind of share those as use cases or examples.
Yeah, super cool. Okay, well, are there any other questions or comments?
And sorry, I said Talend, I meant Tableau. I apologize. I've got other things on my
Gotcha.
brain. I'm so sorry. I meant Tableau. I'm thinking, what am I saying Talend for? That's an ETL tool, but I've got ETL in the brain. But no, Tableau was the one that I was actually thinking of. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, those are common for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, then